Alright folks, let's get into it. It's Friday and yes, it's still stinging. Celtic took a proper doing from Ajax 5-1 in the Como Cup. And I'll be honest, I'm sitting here trying to keep a straight face, but that was brutal. It was the kind of game that leaves you half lying, half crying. Because as much as it was just preseason, it wasn't pretty. We saw a Celtic side that at moments looked slick, sharp, and well-drilled. And then within the same match we saw them unravel. And that's what's got everyone talking. The fact that we're seeing this duality in performance. The best and the worst of what this squad can offer. And if you're not a bit concerned after watching that, then you're either the most optimistic fan in the world or you turn the telly off at halftime. Now listen, I'm not here to hit the panic button. It's preseason after all. These matches are meant to sharpen players up, test combinations. Give the gaffer something to chew on. We weren't dancing in the streets after beating Newcastle and we didn't start printing shirts after the Sporting match, so let's keep things in perspective here. That said, Fivion is never a result you can just wave off entirely, friendly or not. The starting lineup had a few talking points. Schmeichel between the sticks with a back four of Ralston, Murray, Scales, and Tierney. Midfield three of McGregor, Negrin, and Haddett, and up top we had Young, Maeda, and Ida. Now straight off the bat, Dane Murray's one I want to spotlight. I've been impressed with him across these warm-up games. There's a composure to his game, a bit of bite too. He doesn't look out of place, and for me he's earned a spot on that bench for the league opener. At the very least. He's tall, reads the game well, and doesn't shy away from the physical side of things. Schmeichel as well. The scoreline doesn't flatter him, but I thought he did what he could. He made a few decent stops and looked like a proper presence back there. Problem was he got let down by the lads in front of him, especially in that chaotic second half. Now Ralston. Look, he's a player who divides opinion. Some love him for the effort, the passion, the drive, but against Ajax he was turned inside out. A couple of their boys had a field day down his flank. Wendell and Morrow in particular had so much space it was ridiculous. That's not just on Ralston, but he was exposed more than once. And if we're being honest with ourselves, you can't get away with that at European level. Scales had a bit of a wrestling match with Brobby, didn't he? First half I thought he held his own. Managed the physical stuff pretty well, but second half, Brobby showed the levels. I mean the difference between him and what we've got up front was night and day. Brobby looked like a striker who could play anywhere. Strength, pace, hold-up play, the works. I mean, if we had someone like that in our lineup, the whole dynamic of our attack changes. Instead, we've got guys who try hard but just don't have that same punch. Speaking of forwards, Ida continues to be a bit of a puzzle. There are moments where you think, right, he's got something there. He'll hold the ball up under pressure, link play, but then there's the other side of it. Simple passes going astray. Ball bouncing off him. That one where he passed it straight out of play was painful to watch. And when you're trying to build confidence and rhythm, you can't be doing that. Negrin, though, was a bright spot. Thought he was everywhere. Covered ground, picked up good spaces, looked sharp on the ball. You can see he's going to give Haddett more freedom this season. He's the kind of midfielder that works hard, recycles possession well, but also has that bit of creativity about him. I'd love to see the GPS stats from that first half. Felt like he covered more ground than anyone. He's exactly the kind of signing we need more of. Low fee, high impact. And with room to grow, McGregor was solid. Did what McGregor does. Controlled tempo, stayed tidy, tried those switches to the flanks. He had one in particular over to Maeda that should have led to a goal. Young looked a bit more confident too. Scored a beauty, no doubt about that. And to be fair, that's something we maybe wouldn't have seen from him last year. You can see his development. Last preseason he hesitates there. This time he slots it away. But that's the thing. Young might be improving, but he's not ready to be a first-choice winger, not yet. He doesn't have that consistency or final ball you'd expect from a Topelvel starter. He's still raw. Forrest, even at this stage of his career, offers more in terms of creativity and experience. And when you're heading into European qualifiers, you can't be gambling on potential. You need players who are ready now, and let's not kid ourselves. This squad is thin in wide areas. If Young goes, if Maeda picks up a knock, we're looking at Forrest as the only fit winger. That's a big problem. Tilio's deal being delayed probably reflects that. Can't let anyone go until we've got replacements lined up. We're already skating on thin ice. Now I want to circle back to Brobby for a second. This is a guy Ajax paid about 15 million for, and already he's being linked with Premier League clubs. For double that, West Ham apparently sniffing around, and when you watch him play you get it. He's got the power to bully defenders, but also the intelligence to find space and time his runs. That's what we're lacking. We've got strikers who work hard, yes, but we need someone who can hold the ball, bring others into play, and be clinical. In front of goal, a focal point. We spent around 11 million on Ida, and I get that prices are crazy these days. But was that money well spent based on what we've seen? I'm not sure. Maybe he proves us wrong, maybe he clicks, but right now you look at him and think he's more of a 6 or 7 million player. And that's the thing, if Celtic want to be taken seriously in Europe, we've got to be spending smarter, not necessarily spending more, but spending better. Brendan Rodgers talked about ambition after the match, and I think that's exactly what he meant. Loosen the purse strings a bit and go get players that actually lift the level, and I know there's a model, buy cheap, develop, sell high. It's worked in the past, but it can't be the only way. There's got to be balance. For every Negrin, or had it, we've got to have a couple ready-made players that walk straight into the she, because if not, we'll keep seeing results like this. A strong 30 minutes followed by a complete collapse, and with Champions League qualifiers coming up, that's a terrifying thought. 3.5 weeks out and we're still trying to sort a squad that looks light in multiple areas. That second half against Ajax was a wake-up call, no question. They just took control, bossed it. And look, it wasn't just a collapse, it was a gap in quality. That's what hurt. It wasn't just about energy levels or rustiness. It was one team full of players comfortable on the ball, capable of hurting you from any position, and another team that looked like it was running out of ideas. Sure, the first 30 minutes were positive. We played through the press, Schmeichel calm, as you like, defenders looking sharp, midfield ticking along. Young hit the bar early on, keeper made a cracking save. McGregor was spraying those balls over the top, and Tierney's delivery was outstanding. You had that gorgeous assist from him that set up Yang's goal. One-touch line-breaking pass. That's the Celtic we want to see more of, but after half an hour it all went flat. Couldn't string passes together, couldn't get out, couldn't keep the ball. Any chances we did have came from Ajax errors, not our own creativity, and that's a concern. When a team like Ajax turns it on, we've got no answer, no control, no rhythm. And it's not just Ajax. That kind of collapse can happen against any well-drilled European side. Newcastle United, who we beat the other day, are Champions League caliber as well. And that just shows how wild preseason can be. You beat one top team and get thumped by another. It's why we shouldn't get to high or to low, but it does underline where the gaps are. Brendan talked before the match about wanting to see intensity in the press and sharp passing. And to be fair, he got that in the opening stages. But once Ajax found their groove, we had no response. They were carving through us, showing exactly why they're in the Champions League year after year. Quality all over the park. Guys who keep the ball tight, draw defenders out, and find space in a blink. And I know some people might say it's only preseason, don't overreact. But these are the exact games where you learn about your squad. You see who's up for it, who can cope under pressure, and where you absolutely need to invest. And speaking of learning, there's something else that came out of that match. And that's Brendan Rodgers' post-game comments. Now, Brendan didn't sugarcoat it. He acknowledged the effort, the sharpness in patches, but he was also crystal clear. If Celtic want to progress, if we want to be a team that doesn't just turn up in Europe but actually competes, then we need to bring in more quality. And he wasn't talking about squad fillers or young lads with potential. He meant ready-made first-team quality. That's the reality. And the way he explained the recruitment process, and look, I'm paraphrasing here, but he said the recruitment team go off and identify players that tick the boxes, affordable, talented, realistic targets. They bring those names to Brendan. He has a look, gives the thumbs up or the thumbs down if he's, and then the club steps in to try and sign the player. Sounds simple, right? But the frustration, and I think all of us feel it, is that it doesn't seem to be moving fast enough. And sometimes it feels like we're trying to negotiate in 2006 with 2025 price tags. Like offering pennies on the pound and hoping clubs just give us players out of kindness. I mean, look at where we are right now. We've got just a few weeks until competitive football starts properly. The league opener is right around the corner. Then you've got the Champions League qualifiers. Massive fixtures that will define the tone of the season. And we're going into those games with huge gaps in key areas. That's not ideal. In fact, it's borderline reckless, and fans are fed up. We've seen this movie before. Summer window opens, names fly around, a fewer linked negotiation stall, we make a late push. And by then, we're already into crucial matches with a squad that's only halfway ready. The comment from one of the viewers after the Ajax game stuck with me, said it's better to get humbled now than to take a hiding in the Champions League. And they're absolutely right. If this defeat serves as a wake-up call to the board and the decision-makers at the club, then maybe, just maybe it will have been worth it. Because let's not pretend this result was some uneoff fluke. It exposed flaws that have been simmering for a while now. Lack of depth, lack of quality in key areas to many players who aren't quite at the level we need, and again we're not asking to compete with Manchester City in the transfer market. No one's demanding £30 million signings, but we should be in that £6 to £8 million range regularly, and more importantly, those players should be walking into the starting 11. Negrin costs what, £2.5 million and already looks like a baller, so it's not just about price. It's about identifying players who fit the system, who are mentally ready, and who have that little bit of magic or steel that makes a difference in big games. Let's talk wingers again. Yang's shown flashes, but he's not there yet. Tilio hasn't had his move confirmed, and God forbid something happens to Maeda. If that happens, we're left with Forrest, and that's it. One wide player, and Forrest, as much as we love him, isn't playing 90 minutes twice a week anymore. It's not sustainable. And if Young was to leave, as has been hinted with those whispers about interest from the English Championship, then we are in real trouble. Brendan even said it himself. Losing Young is not an option right now simply because there's no one else to fill the void. There's this weird situation where we're holding players hostage not because they're irreplaceable, but because we literally don't have the depth to let them go, and that's dangerous. You can't build a squad on fear of losing bodies. You need to plan for it, be proactive, have replacements ready. That's the difference between elite clubs and the rest. They plan to or 3 steps ahead. We're stuck reacting to every fire. And what makes it all the more frustrating is that we do have money. We've got the resources. The club isn't broke, far from it. But it's like we're afraid to spend it unless we've exhausted every bargain bin on the planet. First, that's no way to build a team for European competition. You can get away with it domestically, sure. The league isn't going to punish us every week, but Europe, that's a whole different beast. And unless we change our approach, we'll be stuck in the same loop. Qualify if we're lucky, struggle in the group stage, drop down, repeat. Now let's talk about the second half of that match, because man, that was grim. You could just see Ajax shift gears and suddenly we were chasing shadows. They were faster, sharper, more direct, and our boys couldn't keep up. And I'm not saying our players don't care or don't try. They do, but trying your hardest isn't enough at that level. You need the quality, the vision, the tactical awareness. And for large chunks of that second half, it just looked like we had none of that. It was like watching the teams in different leagues. Their players were moving off the ball, constantly opening up space, finding angles, working as a unit. Our lads looked disjointed, tired, and second best to everything. Even the basic stuff, holding shape, closing down, keeping possession, we couldn't manage it. And when that happens, it's a sign the system's broken, at least on the night. Brendan made a few subs, of course. Carter Vickers came on, which was great to see. Nomura as well. Then we had a flurry of changes late on. Macaulay, Bernardo, Ingles, Forrest, Tilio, Kenny. But none of them really shifted the momentum. You're not expecting miracles in a friendly, but you do want to see some spark, some intent. Instead, we just looked flat. And then there's the whole Yamada situation. Initially named on the bench, then suddenly not on the list anymore. Turns out he wasn't eligible because the match was registered as some kind of UFA-sanctioned affair, which is honestly ridiculous for a preseason friendly in Italy. With about 500 people in the stands, the whole thing just smacked of overcomplication. All we wanted was to get a look at Yamada, and instead we got bureaucracy. Hopefully he gets a run out in the next game, because let's face it, we need fresh faces. This final match of the Como Cup against the Lali is now our last chance to test things before the real stuff begins. And they've got arguably the strongest squad in the tournament with the kind of players we'd love to have. And with such a quick turnaround between matches, I'd be shocked if any of the starters from the Ajax match feature again from the beginning. Brendan's going to rotate heavily. I imagine we'll see the likes of Sinisalo and Gold Johnston back in the defense. Maybe Carter Vickers getting more minutes, Trusty as well. He was good in his last appearance and didn't even get on against Ajax, so he's due a start. In midfield, I'd expect to see Bernardo, Ingles, and maybe Macaulay getting a run together. Those are players who need minutes, who need to prove they can contribute. Up front, we've got to see more from the likes of Tilio. If he's going to stay, he needs to show something. If not, then it's a chance to put himself in the shop window. Forrest will probably get another start too. And then maybe Osman or Yamada gets the nod through the middle, because as it stands, we can't afford to keep running Maeda and Ida into the ground. Ida especially, he's under pressure. Big price tag, big expectations, but so far it's not clicking. He needs goals, needs confidence, and ideally he needs a solid 90 minutes where he gets into the right positions and gets some chances. Otherwise we might be heading into the league opener still unsure who our number 9 really is. As for Kenny, you know what you're going to get. Work rate, tenacity, a bit of chaos. He'll win a penalty or score a scrappy one, and sometimes that's enough. But he shouldn't be our backup plan, that's the issue. So this match against the Lolly isn't just about pride or trying to win a meaningless third-place medal. It's about figuring out what we actually have before things get serious. Who's fit, who's ready, who can be trusted to step up? Because if we don't have answers to those questions now, we're in trouble. And that brings us back to the bigger picture. The board needs to act. The recruitment team needs to deliver. Brendan Rodgers can only do so much with what he's given. If we want to dream even a little about doing something in Europe this year, we need reinforcements. We need ambition. That was the word Rodgers used. Ambition, not caution, not hesitation, not panic buys on deadline day. Proper signings that show we mean business. Because we've seen what Celtic can be. We've seen this club go toe-to-toe with giants and come out swinging. We've felt that buzz in the Champions League nights under the lights. And all we're asking is to feel like we belong on that stage again. To have a team that competes, that doesn't fold when the going gets tough. A team that plays the Celtic way. Fast, aggressive, fearless. So to the people making decisions, you've seen the warning signs. Now act. Don't wait until it's too late. Back the manager. Back the team. Back the fans. Because the clock's ticking and there's no room for excuses this time. Let's get it right. Before we proceed, subscribe to our channel and enable notifications to receive all exclusive news about Celtic FC. Don't miss any details about your favorite team. It's extremely important for Celtic FC fans. Whispers are beginning to swirl around the east end of Glasgow, and they're growing louder by the day. Could Brendan Rodgers be on his way out of Celtic Park? It's only murmurs at this stage, but those close to the club say there's an uneasy air settling over Lennox Town, and questions are quietly being asked behind closed doors. Rodgers, who returned to Celtic amid much fanfare, was seen as the man to guide the Hoops into a new era of domestic dominance and European credibility. But recent performances have failed to match the expectations that come with the Parkhead hot seat. And some are beginning to wonder whether the board's patience may be wearing thin. Sources suggest not everyone within the Celtic hierarchy is convinced by the direction the club is taking on the pitch. While there's no official word, and there may not be for some time, the rumblings can't be ignored. After all, the Celtic faithful are known for demanding not just results, but a brand of football that reflects the club's proud traditions. Rodgers, despite his earlier success in his first spell, hasn't quite managed to recapture that magic the second time around. It's important to stress that no decision has been made for now. Rodgers remains at the helm, but as the season rolls on and pressure mounts, every drop point and lackluster showing adds fuel to the speculation. The club's upcoming fixtures could prove pivotal, not just for their position in the table, but for the man in the dugout. Could we be witnessing the beginning of the end for Rodgers' second chapter at Celtic? For now, it's all just talk. But as any fan in Glasgow will tell you, where there's smoke, there's often fire. Hello, fan. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel, as it means a lot to Celtic FC. Also, share your opinion about the news in the comments below. See you in the next video.